What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the Destiny 2 Revenant Act 2 video. And man, the names of these Destiny releases are getting very confusing, but today we got the Tomb of Elders. We're going to talk a little bit about that and the rewards for Contest of Elders, how we can pick up the new weapons that have been introduced for Act 2, as well as tonics for Tomb of Elders, and the ultimate treasure room for that activity. Safe to say it drops a ridiculous amount of loot. But we'll also talk about a new exotic catalyst for Act 2, and some significant reward buffs this week, as well as updates from Bungie regarding free weapons that we can pick up at the moment, and a general overview of the rewards for Act 2 of Revenant. So if you guys enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out, but now let's get into it. And so to discuss the new content, as we get into Act 2, when we head to the last city we can speak to Mithrax and pick up the quest that initiates us on the new content, as well as the story component for this update. Obviously the story stuff is what it is, we just work through the quest until it's done. It's maybe an hour or so of gameplay, but then there is the Tomb of Elders. We do an initial run of it as part of that quest, and then a secondary run in the Contest of Elders, where we simply have to complete waves in order to make progress with the quest. Now, in terms of tonics at Ido, there's a separate tab for the Tomb of Elders, which is good in a way because it would have otherwise been kind of confusing. It also cuts down the relative grind to unlock all of the stuff associated with Tomb of Elders specifically. And so if you want to make tonics to focus for tomb weapons, you can do that. Of course, there are some new materials and things, the tomb flakes, and existing materials that will be required in order to do that. But if you're wondering how we can get the new weapons for Act 2 dropped, the Scavenger's Fate shotgun and the Noxious Vetiver SMG, they are random drops from Tomb of Elders or the Contest of Elders. So basically play those activities until you get one. And then of course there's the tonic component if you want to focus for them a bit more specifically. When we got to the part of the quest that requested us to go into Contest of Elders though, I did complete the quest objectives, but then continued to play Contest of Elders. I'm not sure exactly how many sort of loops we went through the activity. I think it was maybe 5 or 6. But ultimately, upon completion of the activity, which took us about 35 minutes with a match-made team, we're sent back to the central airlock and ultimately down to the treasure room. Now, this is a bit bigger than the version we had back in D1. Every time we complete a lap, we get 3 chests which can drop weapons, tonic currencies and materials, as well as armor, the Shadestalker variants for this act. And throughout the entirety of the run, safe to say, there are a significant amount of weapons that will be dropped. Obviously, Bungie has designed this as a component to give us as many opportunities to pick up this episode's weapons, considering that they're not craftable. So it's a great way to go after rolls on these weapons. And beyond that, we can use tonics to focus farm them a bit more specifically. So that's a quick look at Tomb of Elders and the new weapons that have been introduced, as well as the tonics part. I 100% agree with the feedback that players have given that it's a shame Prison of Elders hasn't got some kind of nostalgic loot coming back from D1 or some additional weapons outside of the purely Scorn themed ones, as it does make things a bit less exciting. Nonetheless, it's a very good activity to farm if you are still after Revenant loot. Other rewards though for this week, and now that we're in Act 2, firstly, we can now pick up the catalyst for the Elethenum, and that gives the weapon one for all. That's a season pass rank 145, so that's something else to go after if you want it. Otherwise, the season pass has other cosmetic items like the exotic sparrow, which is pretty cool. But for other rewards this week, it is worth mentioning, on top of the Grandmaster catch-up node being added, we've also got bonus loot and Vanguard ranks this week. So if you want to farm some Nightfalls, it's a pretty good time to do it. Wild Style is the featured weapon, but of course there'll be plenty of opportunities to get those, especially on Grandmaster, as well as the other rewards dropped by activity completions and the reputation. We also have double rewards in Vesper's Host, as we've mentioned. Well, that only affects the legendary drops as far as I'm aware, but still, for the next 2 weeks, Vesper's Host is going to be very rewarding, so it's certainly worth running that, not least because one of the weapons that Banshee is offering for free this week, of course, comes from that, and the dungeon weapons that Banshee has at the moment do require a dungeon completion, so that affects the Indebted Kindness, which has Loose Change and Vault Shot, as well as the Chill Inhibitor, which has got Envious Arsenal, as well as Bait and Switch. So I'd say get into Vesper's Host if you can, especially if you've never played it, because you're going to get a fast track for a lot of really good rewards. If you haven't visited Banshee though, of course, he has Rose, Multimax ECX, as well as the Indebted Kindness, Compass Rose, Hothead, and Chill Inhibitor, which are being given away for free. Bungie have said they currently don't have a planned deadline for the acquisition, but they do recommend picking these weapons up at the earliest convenience. So, like I say, the only limitation on any of those is the dungeon completion requirement. And if you need to do that and are willing to do that, totally recommend trying to get it done in the next fortnight. And so there we go, guys. That is a breakdown of rewards for Act 2. There are a couple of extra things that will come from events in the next few weeks, so we can look out for those on separate releases. But if you found the video today helpful, a rating really does help us out on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Disable lines, yes? Or you die. Stand proud. My favorite.
Many awoken outposts were evacuated when the Witness's forces approached. Morro has people out there securing them again. Petra promised they'd send word if they spot any sign of Fiquel. We are rich in friends, Guardian. Even in our darkest moments.